You've seen the picture, right? Mark Zuckerberg, one of the richest people on the planet, almost always wearing the exact same simple gray t-shirt. For years, people have kicked this around. Is it just a branding thing? Is he just not into fashion? Or is there something way, way deeper going on? So let's really get into this, because what starts with a t-shirt, believe it or not, ends up telling us a lot about the future of artificial intelligence.
When people asked him about it, Zuckerberg gave this pretty straightforward answer. He says it has nothing to do with style. It's all about focus. By getting rid of a tiny, meaningless decision like what to wear, he saves up his mental energy for what he thinks are the real decisions. Sounds like a simple life hack, doesn't it? But what if that one simple idea is actually a huge clue about how our brains really work?
And that, right there, is the big question we're tackling. Is the billionaire's uniform just a neat productivity tip, or does it expose a fundamental limit of the human brain? A limit that has massive implications, not just for our day-to-day lives, but for how we're designing our most advanced technologies. To figure that out, the first thing you have to realize is that this isn't just a Zuckerberg thing. Not at all. This is a pattern. And whenever you see a pattern among some of the most effective people in history, you start to think, okay, this is less about fashion and a whole lot more about strategy.
I mean, look at this. The consistency here is pretty wild. Steve Jobs, of course, had his iconic black turtleneck. Barack Obama, while he was president, famously said he only wore gray or blue suits just to pare down decisions. And get this, even Albert Einstein supposedly bought several identical suits so he wouldn't waste precious brainpower on clothes. They all, in their own way, stumbled upon something really important about their own minds.
So, what was their secret? What did they all figure out? Well, let's step away from the famous names and look at the science. It turns out there's a well-known psychological phenomenon that explains exactly why this strategy works so well, and it's called decision fatigue. Okay, so think of your ability to make good choices like the battery on your phone. It starts the day at 100%, but every single decision you make, no matter how small, what to eat for breakfast, which email to answer first, what to wear, it takes a little sip of that power. By the end of the day, that battery is running low, and your brain starts to look for shortcuts. And that usually means you either make bad choices or you just avoid making a choice at all. And if you want a perfect real-world example of how this feels, here it is. This comment from a Reddit user just nails it. They're talking about shopping for new appliances, and after a month of comparing everything, their decision-making battery was so drained, they just wish someone would make the choice for them. That feeling of being totally exhausted by options, that is decision fatigue right there. But here's where it gets even cooler. This isn't just some vague psychological feeling of being tired. No, there's a proposed biological reason for it. We're talking about a literal physical energy budget inside your head. So here's the play-by-play. Every single time you make a conscious choice, a part of your brain called the frontal lobe fires up. And just like a muscle doing work, that activity needs fuel, in this case, glucose. So the more choices you make, the more of this fuel you burn through. It's not a metaphor. When your brain's fuel tank gets low, your willpower and your judgment physically get worse. Mental work literally drains your energy. And this explains so much, right? You ever wonder why you feel absolutely wiped out after the first week of a new job? It's not just the new tasks, it's that your brain is making thousands of tiny new micro decisions and it's burning through all its glucose. And the infamous IKEA argument? It's not really about the bookshelf. It's about two people whose brains are running on empty after making 100 tiny choices about color, size, and which weirdly named knob to buy. Okay, so this is where the story takes a huge turn. We figured out that our human brains have this hardwired daily budget for making good decisions. So what on earth happens when we start interacting with systems that have a nearly infinite capacity for information, like AI? This leads us to a really big and kind of weird problem in AI research. For a long time, the thinking was, to trust in AI, we need total transparency. We need it to show us its work. But it turns out, giving us all that information can completely backfire. Researchers are now calling this the transparency paradox. Scientists working on what they call explainable AI, or XAI, are finding that just dumping more and more data on a user doesn't actually lead to better results. In fact, a lot of the time, it makes things much, much worse. The user's brain just hits that same cognitive wall we've been talking about. And they have a name for this: autonomy depletion. Now, don't let the fancy term throw you. It is the exact same thing as decision fatigue, just in the context of you working with an AI.
When an AI floods your screen with charts, data, and probabilities, it's no different than that IKEA showroom. Your brain's glucose gets used up, you start to feel like you're losing control, and your ability to make a good final decision goes right out the window.
Now, this 3D graph looks super complicated, but the idea behind it is actually really simple. Just think of the height of that colored surface as how helpful the AI is being. As the AI gives you a little more information, the surface rises. It's helping you more. But then, you see, it hits a peak. After that point, giving you even more information makes the surface suddenly drop off. The extra data becomes counterproductive because your brain just can't process it anymore. That's the transparency paradox in a single image.
Let's look at this another way, a bit simpler. This chart shows two different ways an AI can behave. See that purple dashed line way down at the bottom? That's an AI giving you maximum transparency, just dumping all the data on you at once. It completely overwhelms the user. But now look at that solid blue line. That's a smarter AI using what's called optimal control. It gives you just enough information to be useful, but it's careful not to push you into that cognitive overload. It's basically being a great t-shirt. It's simplifying things to save your brain's energy.
And the research on this gets shockingly specific. The scientists who made that last chart actually calculated a tipping point. They predict that when an AI gives you maximum information, that purple line we saw, the average person will hit their cognitive limit and just mentally check out in only 25 minutes. After that, you're not really making a decision anymore. You're just running on fumes. So where does all this leave us? This whole journey, from a billionaire's t-shirt to the cutting edge of AI, it all points to one fundamental rule about our own minds. We all get a daily cognitive allowance. The trick is learning how to spend it wisely.
So how do we actually put this into practice? It's all about managing that cognitive budget. You can literally create your own uniform, even if it's just for work days. You can automate small decisions like planning meals for the week. The biggest thing is just to recognize that your willpower is a battery, not an infinite well, and you have to protect it. In this age of information overload, sometimes the smartest move is to choose less information to make a better decision.
And this, really, is the ultimate takeaway. That simple, almost boring gray t-shirt is so much more than a life hack. It's a real-world solution to a deep cognitive truth about how humans work. A truth so important that the very people designing our future are now having to build that exact same principle, the need to avoid overload, right into the code of their most advanced AI. So that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. When you look at your own life, your own daily routines, what's your gray t-shirt? What's the one small repeating decision you could just get rid of starting tomorrow to free up that precious mental energy for the things that really truly matter?